To Understanding the World with Rabbi David Kaufman. I'm joined in the studio by Mark Finkelstein of the Jewish Federation of Greater Des Moines, Jewish Community Relations Commission. And we're joined via Skype, at least later in the show, by Rabbi Jacques Kukerkorn of Temple Israel in Kansas City, and also of Brit Bracha. .org is an organization that does outreach in Latin America to Jews, and I'll let Rabbi Kukerkorn explain more about that when we get there. But first, the world in 5 minutes. So this week, there have been a lot of different things going on involving Israel in the Middle East, and we'll start with those. This week was the week of the Israel-Canada Love Fest. Prime Minister Stephen Harper was in Israel, delivered a speech that had all of the Israel advocates around the world enthralled, including Prime Minister Netanyahu, and it was the highlights of his time in Israel. Just kept getting noted one after the other. His visit to Yad Vashem and different speeches and all kinds of things. But more other things happened this week as well, including Israel stopping an al-Qaeda plot to blow up the U.S. Embassy in Tel Aviv, along with the conference center in Jerusalem. And then there's the issue of the Iranian nuclear agreement with right now. Iran came out today and said, well, we haven't agreed to concede anything at this point, really. They are able to maintain all the capacity that they had prior to the agreement being signed. They haven't shut down a single centrifuge. They haven't shut down any of their water reactors, and we have made concessions to them. So in this process of working to curtail the Iranian nuclear weapons program, we have simply allowed them to maintain, if not increase their capacity, and given them more money to do it. So just in case you're wondering who benefited from the Iran negotiations, it seems to be Iran, and Iran. The Syria situation continues to be bad. It really, with the exception of the fact that we have now eliminated the use of chemical and biological weapons from the battlefield, at least to this point since they were last used, the rest of the conflict seems to be going on unabated, with lots of people being killed. And now the organizations, at least in the West, the United Nations, the U.S., and others, who wanted to try to curtail the killing in some fashion in Syria, now feel like their hands are tied because they've already made concessions in order to get the chemical weapons taken care of. And negotiating now is very difficult because they've basically made promises to the Assad regime that they're not going to intercede, promises to Russia that they're not going to intercede, and it's a very problematic situation. It's not going to get any better anytime soon, and we have to continue worrying about that. There have been some rockets fired toward Israel and even into Israel. Granted, they've hit in unoccupied areas over the last few days out of Gaza. And there was a poll that I think everybody needs to be aware of that came out today, which basically shows a shrinking political center in Israel and an increasing right wing again. In the recent poll that was done and that was promoted in the Jerusalem Post, Likud and Israel Beitenu, the kind of right-wing center of the coalition, has gained, and Yesh Atid, the left of center party, and Jewish Home, kind of the right-wing secular party, have both lost in polling numbers. And if that's the case, then secular issues such as secular marriage and divorce and things like that are going to become more of a problem to try to push through in the next governmental coalition. So it's something to be aware of as an advocate for progressive Judaism in Israel. We've been dealing a lot with the South Sudan issue. Good news is today, evidently, a ceasefire was signed. We don't have a whole lot of details. We will certainly get you those along with an update on what's going on in Sudan in future shows of Understanding the World. And the situation in Sudan continues to be difficult. There are a number of, in the northern part, Sudan, there are continuing issues in the Nuba Mountains, continuing issues in Darfur. There are evidently some changes that are going to happen with the government, governmental coalition in Sudan, that will come down over the next few days. We don't know what those are yet. Jimmy Carter announced there were going to be major changes in Sudan. He had been there over the last few days. So that is the situation right now as far as Sudan goes, and South Sudan and Israel, the Middle East. There's much more to talk about. And as far as the world goes, I'd like to thank Dr. Ronald Bergman and Bergman Folkers Cosmetic Surgery and Spa for his support of this show. And that has been The World in 6 Minutes with Rabbi David Kaufman. After the break, we'll be back with Rabbi Jacques Kukerkorn.